Okay, here we are at chapter 31. The alarm went off right on the dot and I gathered my basketball gear, dressed, and headed out for Beaupre. As I headed through the old neighborhoods, the sound of ethnic music filled the night air. Children were out playing on the sidewalk. Boys were playing stickball in the middle of the street. Chalk marked their bases. It reminded me of the countless hours of wiffle ball games in the backyard. Countless games of home run derby played until darkness robbed us of another inning. I thought that even these children are oblivious to all that is going on. Or maybe they're just numb to it all. Who knows? Who knows what really their reality is with the poverty and the violence that surrounds them every day, I thought. I arrive at Beaupre with the second half of the game before ours just starting. Some of the night players were sitting with Coach McKay across the way in the bleachers. I take a walk over. I glance around and I see the white BMW pull up within 100 feet of the court. The driver's window was powered down, and a black hand came out, flicking a cigarette ash to the ground. The night players greeted me. I did likewise, and took a seat next to Coach McKay. "How you doing, Coach?" I asked. "Okay," said Dave. "I hate these late-night games, though. It makes 6 a.m. come awful soon. It should be our last late game of the season. I guess I'll make it." "This game seems to be moving along pretty well," I state. "We may get started before 9. "Well, that would be all right with me," said McKay. "I'd like to go home early." Coach asked the Knights to start loosening up behind the bleachers with some passing drills as it went to the 10-minute mark. They obliged. As I got up, I noticed 2 other cars, big Lincolns, pulling up behind Motown's beeper. 8 big men got out. 4 had on long trench coats and moved to the side of the vehicles closer to the court. I began to sense that something was wrong. This did not look good. I looked across the street and saw Ben's car, with the windows partially rolled down. No sooner did I turn around than I heard what appeared to be the sound of firecrackers. Crack, crack, crack. The sounds of screams filled the night air as people began running in every direction. Crack, crack, crack. There appeared to be hundreds of shots by now filling the court. I turned to see 4 men in their long coats with automatic rifles that looked like M16s, I thought. They had dropped their magazines to the ground and were inserting new clips. People were littering the court, lying in pain, screaming. Blood seemed to be everywhere. 6 players were down, as well as 15 to 20 spectators. I spotted Esther and Dwight trying frantically to get Dwight's tricycle unstuck from the bleacher corner rail. I ran toward them. "Esther," I shouted at the top of my lungs. "Leave it! Get down," I yelled. "Get down!" Within a split second, I felt sharp pains in both of my legs as I crumpled to the pavement. On my way down, sharp pains entered both of my shoulder blades and my lower back. I hit the asphalt hard, like I'd been tackled by a 300-pound lineman from behind. My face started to hurt. I probably broke a cheekbone to the right of my nose. The pain was so intense. God, did it hurt. I tried to raise myself up with my arms, but I couldn't. My thigh bones had to be shattered by the 5.62 millimeter rounds that sped through my legs. I tried to drag myself with my arms, but the pains from my shoulders were too great. I just laid there with my left cheek against the pavement, watching people still running for their lives. The level of screaming seemed louder and louder than any cheering crowd I've ever heard at a big game. The pain was getting more and more unbelievable. And then I saw 2 feet walk up right to my side. I look up to barely make out the shape of someone with a long white coat. "Tough luck, Whitey," said a husky, scratchy voice. "You should have stayed in your own neighborhood." I saw the man raise his arm. His hand held what looked like a military .45. I never thought I would be dying this way. I only heard the first shot rip through my skull. Within 45 seconds, 25 people were dead. The attackers sped off into the night. 2 unmarked police cars sped off in pursuit. 5 minutes later, the street was blocked off by Metro police cars. Sergeant Jenkins arrived, got out of his car, and began scanning the court. He spotted me lying on the far end of the court. He ran as fast as he could. Bob, he shouted. Get the paramedics over here now, he shouted, turning as he ran. Now! He got to my body, kneeled down, and saw the blood from the 2 head wounds I had suffered, and he knew it was too late. He felt his neck, and he felt my neck anyway, just in case there was a pulse. He knew from experience there would be none. He could still hope, he thought. He took off his raincoat and draped it over me. Tears began flowing down his face. His greatest fear had become reality. He really admired me, and he thought he could protect me. Reality was that there was no way he could. Not from these thugs who strike so quickly and indiscriminately. Detective Jenkins wiped the tears from his eyes. He raised his head and scanned the entire Beaupre court. There were bodies everywhere. Moans of pain, occasional screams, crying filled the air. Sirens filled the background with shouts of direction coming from the police, EMT personnel who seemed to be everywhere. Jenkins grabbed Ben as he was coming up to my body, still not wanting to believe what had happened. Ben and Sergeant Jenkins just stood there. They both kneeled down, and Ben put his hand on my shoulder. He made the sign of a cross on his chest and began to pray. Dear Father in heaven, began Ben, as tears began streaming down his face. His voice began cracking as each word crossed his lips. Take this life you so graciously blessed us with for such a short time, he continued. He loved you and your son more than his own life. Please grant him a special place at your side. He will be greatly missed. Ben and Sergeant Jenkins remained at my side, still numb from what had happened. What a senseless death, they thought. What a great potential loss in my dying. A senseless tragedy. I will get these guys who did this, announced Jenkins in an angry voice. If I have to kill them with my own bare hands, I swear I will get them. Motown's days are numbered now. Sergeant Jenkins rose to his feet. Paramedics came over and placed Bob's body on a stretcher, rolled him over to one of the 6 ambulances that lined the street. Jenkins pulled out his business card from his breast pocket and handed it to a young female attendant. See that the coroner calls before he does anything with this body, understand? Said Jenkins sternly. Can you do that for me? No problem, she replied. I'll take care of it myself. They rolled my body to the ambulance, pushed the cart past the doors, slammed them and climbed in and took off toward the morgue. No siren was needed for this run. Ben, said Jenkins, follow me back to the campus. I'll call your uncle from my car, and we can tell him the sad news together. Okay? No problem, answered Ben. I'll meet you there. They went to their cars and sped off into the night. This was a visit Jenkins did not want to make. Never thought he would have to. He kept thinking of what he would say. What could he say? How could he even bring himself to do it? Even with all of his years of police work, all the experience, planning, and attention to details, he hated this part of the job the most. Who wouldn't?